Hi everyone, my name is Boris. I'm starting PA school this fall, and I'm making this channel to share my experiences so that I could hopefully help some people get into PA school. So, with the application cycle just beginning, I thought that I would make a video pretending that I'm in your shoes right now, that I'm applying for PA school in the 2019-2020 cycle, and I really wanted to share what I would do first if I was in this position. So the first thing I would do, if I was applying right now, is I would make a list. So as you can see here on the screen, I have 9 things. In green, I have things that are basically going to tell me if I'm a good fit for the school and if I have a chance at getting in. The things in blue here are me qualifying the school, seeing if it's a good fit for me, if it's a place that I could see myself going. So very quickly, accreditation, obviously important. You don't want to go to a school that's not accredited. And right now there's 238 ARC, that's the accreditation body for physician assistant schools. There's 238 schools that are accredited in the United States, so you definitely have your pick. Number 2, location, for me is very important. For family reasons, I had to apply to schools in a very specific area. If you're 22 and you're just graduating college and area doesn't matter, then that's actually a very significant advantage you have over a lot of people who do have families and things like that. So if location's not on your list, take it right off. You have fewer things that are limiting you in these schools that you could apply to. Number 3, prerequisites. So most of us applying to PA school were biology, chemistry, biochemistry, majors like that. So a lot of the prerequisite courses kind of came naturally to us and were already part of our curriculum. Still, it's very important to check the prerequisites required for each PA school you apply to, because you really wouldn't want to go through the application process, spend the money, maybe even do a secondary application, and then realize there's like 3 courses that you still have to take. You may not have time or money or resources to take those courses, so it might be better to look for schools that only require the classes you've already taken. Either way, it's just something you need to know. Number 4 is admissions. My previous video, I explained why I thought it was very important to look up if your program has rolling admissions, and if it is rolling, you want to apply as early as possible. If it's not, it's very likely you can apply by the deadline, and by that time you'll have the most hours and things like that. So it kind of changes your strategy, whether the admissions are rolling or not. And that's something you can usually find from the website. If not, you can always call the admissions office and they'll tell you. Number 5, this one's pretty obvious. Minimum GPA, GRE, and healthcare experience that the school requires. And also, it's important to get last year's stats, if possible. So, for instance, if a school requires a 3.0 minimum GPA, but the average GPA of the matriculating student from last year was 3.6, you applying with a 3.0 is not very likely to get you in. So, some schools list these on their websites. If they don't, again, you can call the admissions office and they'll be happy to pull that up for you. Number 6, the school's mission and vision. This one's kind of unique. The reason mission and vision is important is a lot of schools explain the exact kind of student they want and what the school focuses on. For instance, maybe it's rural medicine, maybe it's urban medicine, maybe it's people in a particular state have high preference because they want people to stay in that city or state because there's a shortage of providers. Things like that are often in the school's mission and vision statement, and will again help you determine if you have a very good chance of being accepted to that program, and also if it's a program that fits your particular needs and desires in a program. Number 7, so this is, again, in blue here, is us qualifying the school, seeing if it's a good fit for you. So PANCE pass rate. I know this is a big one, everyone talks about this. The PANCE is, of course, the national certifying exam that you take after PA school, which you need in order to practice. So if a school's last year PANCE pass rate is high, that speaks highly of the school, saying that they prepare their students well for this PANCE. It's not something that you want to retake, so it's definitely important. Another thing here, it's kind of a caveat. The last few years, the last 2 at least, the national, over all PA schools in the country, PANCE pass rate, and this is for first-time takers, so this is people taking the test for the very first time right out of PA school, it was 96%. Mostly all schools are in the 90s. If you find one of the rare schools that's like in the 40s or 50s or something, I don't even know if they exist, but if your school has a very low PANCE pass rate, you might want to think again about applying. But most schools more than likely will have a very high rate as it is. Number 8, class size. This all goes down to personal preference. So if you feel like you learn better in a smaller class size, where there might be 20 or 30 people, it's a more cohesive group, you get a lot more individual attention from the professors. If that's important to you, maybe that's something you should look for. Maybe you should not apply to programs that have 75, 100, 150 students in their class, if that's important to you. And then number 9, this one's a little bit tricky. So I wrote didactic year and rotation organization. This is never really something you'll get from the website. This is something you'll get from current students in the programs that you're looking at. So if it's an option at all for you to connect with some current students and ask them about how the didactic year is organized and also how rotations are organized, it's very good to see if it's a school that would be a good fit for you. One example of this, 2 schools that I looked at. I spoke with students from both schools. One program is very established, it's been around for a long time, they've kind of perfected their curriculum over time, and they go body system by body system. So the system that you're learning about in anatomy is the same system you're learning about in diseases and also in pharmacology and things like that. So everything's really cohesive and makes it easy to learn. The other school I looked at, I was told by some current and former students that everything was just kind of random. You might be learning about the anatomy of the heart, but you might be learning about pills to treat conditions not exactly related to the heart. So that, I felt like, would make it very difficult to learn compared to the first school. So that's just one example. You might have other ways that you learn that are important to you. Either way, it's just good to talk to current and former students and see what they say. Rotation organization, it's very good to go to a school that has their rotations really locked in, really organized, a lot of sites for you to go to, no shortages, things like that. I mean, there's always going to be shortages, but it's just good to go to a school that has a history of very organized rotations for their students. And also, if, for instance, international rotations are important to you, or if you really want to set up your own custom rotation as an elective, if the school will allow you to do that, it might be important to you. So it's definitely things to ask. These are things you can ask the admissions office again, and even more importantly, ask current and former students. So really quickly, kind of to the meat of the video, I wanted to show you how I, if I was in your shoes applying right now, would go about selecting a school, researching it, and seeing if it's a good fit for me. So here you can see the first website that I'm on is CASPA. I'm just going to log in really quick. And so it's going to look a little bit different right now because, one, I've already completed my applications, everything's in, it's been submitted for months. So mine's going to look a little bit different than yours. And also, there's no open programs right now because the application is closed. So when you go to add a program, you see there's 0 available programs. So I'm going to have to do past programs because obviously right now there's no programs accepting applications. So here we go. So here's a list of all the programs you can apply to, and obviously there's quite a few pages. So the schools I applied to in New York, so I wanted to go to a new program, one that I haven't really previously researched, one that I have not applied to, I have no interest in, just kind of arbitrarily pick a program and show you how I would do this. So I'm from Ohio. I didn't apply to any programs in Ohio, but originally I grew up in Ohio, so why don't we check that out. State, Ohio. The very first one that comes up, Baldwin Wallace University. I know just from being in Ohio, this is on the west side of Cleveland, Ohio, so if, for instance, I was going to try to be closer to home, this is a school I would look at. So on CASPA, as you can see, it really doesn't give you much information. It tells you the name of the school, it tells you it's a master's program like every other program is, it tells you the state because obviously we just searched Ohio. This right here is pretty interesting, start term. So a lot of schools start in the fall, some may start in the spring, like this one right here. This one starts in the summer. So this means you're applying by the deadline, which you can see here is November 1st. And it's obviously going to take them a few months to get all the applications in, to interview people, to let you know you're accepted or not. So it might be, with a deadline that's that late, it might be March, April, I don't know, May, by the time you find out if you're even in. And if they start in the summer, that probably means June. That's usually when summer semester starts. So that could be something to consider. You might have a very short turnaround between when you find out you're in and when you're actually starting school. So just from personal experience, that kind of right there is something to think about. But otherwise, as you can tell, there's really no other information. So where do you go to find out information about this program instead of just applying blindly? There's a few different websites. A few I'll show you. So first off, there's of course the ARCPA. This is, like I said, it's the accrediting body for PA programs, and it lists all the programs in the country that are accredited. So first off, you can cross-reference between CASPA and here, and also all these other resources if the school that you're looking at. So this was called Baldwin Wallace. There it is, Baldwin Wallace University. Its next review is June of 2026. It was first accredited in 2013, so it's a pretty new program. But as you can tell, it is accredited, so you're safe. So as you can see here on the list, accreditation is by far number 1. That one's already checked off. We got that right there, right from the source, ARCPA. Some other resources I might show you later in the video. I really don't want to make this very long, but one good resource right here is PA School Finder. You can also here, you can search by location. As you can see, all the states. But unlike the CASPA side, you can search by all kinds of things. Here's accreditation status, of course, but you can search by deadline. So if your application, if your hours might not really be ready as early as you would like, maybe you can look for programs that have a later application deadline. But big caveat there is if they have rolling admissions, it's still really good to apply early because, for instance, like I said in my last video, one school I applied to, the application deadline was in November or December, but they were basically full by like, I don't know, I think people who interviewed in June, maybe July, were like the last people that were actually accepted. So, big caveat there. Also, CASPA participation, not every program participates in CASPA, especially programs that are designed to be a straight bachelor's to master's program. They get you in as a bachelor's student. Some of those take transfer students, but they only take 2 or 3 or 5 at a time. A lot of those schools don't participate in CASPA. Class size, like I said before, this is one of our things on our list. You can search by class size. But again, another caveat, these vary year by year. It may not vary from like 35 all the way up to 75, but still, these do vary. Degree type, they're all masters, really no reason to look at that. Faith-based, if going to a Jesuit school or something like that is important to you, obviously it's something you would look at. GRE requirement. This might be a secret for some people, but not every program requires the GRE. One program that I applied to does not require it. It basically just went off of GPA and healthcare experience. Healthcare experience is another thing, depending on how many hours you have. If you have 1,000 hours, you really don't want to apply to schools that have a 2,000 hour minimum. Obviously, you're not going to get in. You're not even going to get looked at. So you can search by all things like that. And there's a lot of other categories, as you can tell here. Overall GPA is another one. So this is a good resource. Another one right here, and this one is especially important for prereqs. It's number 3 on our list here. Once you go to the website, PA program search, and all these resources are going to be in the information for this video, so don't feel like you have to write them down from here. You can search by literally the classes you've taken, so this is really cool. If you've taken all the standard ones, for instance, Bio 1, Bio 2, Anatomy, Anatomy 1 and 2, but you haven't taken genetics, you might want to look for schools that don't require genetics. Or if you have taken it, click it. If you haven't, obviously don't click it, and then once you search for schools, it'll only bring up schools that don't require genetics, or immunology, or virology, things like that. So one common one I know is medical terminology. Let's see if that's even in here. Doesn't look like it is. I know some schools require an actual medical terminology course. Some just kind of assume that you already know some medical terminology from your healthcare hours, and some, like the school I'm going to, I think they're going to give us some medical terminology to study over the summer, and then once we start in the fall, the very first day of class, they give us an exam on it. So I'm actually kind of surprised I don't see medical terminology on this list here. But either way, if you're concerned about some of your possibly not having some prereqs completed, you can check off all the ones that you have completed, and that way only search for programs that you are eligible for. And also right up here, you can go by your GPA. So let's say I have a 3.0. Actually, out of curiosity, what if I have a 2.75 GPA? What if my prerequisite GPA is the same? What if my science GPA is the same? Let's say I have 1,000 hours. Actually, let's say I have 500 hours. I'm not a very competitive applicant. Shadowing experience, let's say I've shadowed for 50 hours. The TOEFL, I am a native English speaker, so I didn't need that. Let's say I have taken the GRE. Actually, no. Let's say I'm very not competitive. Didn't take the GRE, I don't have many hours, my GPA is low. Let's see if I'm eligible for any schools. Look at that. So I can apply to the Adventist University of Health Sciences in Orlando, Florida. They apparently don't require any healthcare experience hours or any shadowing hours. That one, it's kind of a red flag. Maybe the PA program search website doesn't have information on this school. Maybe they're a very new program, I'm not sure. I would definitely go to the school's website. So it's a good resource, but again, it's not, everything. You still want to go to the school's websites. And that brings me here. So I said Baldwin Wallace, this school in Cleveland I was going to research, so I already pulled up the website. Basically, I Googled Baldwin Wallace Physician Assistant Program, and this is what came up. So this is their website. Let's see if we can check off some of the things on our list. So accreditation, we already know, according to the ARCPA, this is an accredited school. Still, right here on their website, one of their first things at the top is accreditation. So you click on that, it takes you to the part of their website that tells you about that, and it tells you right here. The Accreditation Review Commission, that's the ARC, on Education for Physician Assistant Programs, has granted accreditation continued status to the Baldwin Wallace University Physician Assistant Program. So right there, you can set your mind at ease, it's an accredited program. What's next? Location. I already told you this one is in Cleveland, Ohio. If I wasn't here to tell you that, you can see, if you scroll down all the way to the bottom, you can see the address. There it is. It's in Berea, Ohio, which I know to be in Cleveland, or just west of Cleveland. So just like that, you already have your top two knocked out. You already know that. Prerequisite courses. Usually, physician assistant schools will have a link to this because it's a separate page, and you can tell right here, they do. So, and if you didn't see this, you can always just, control find prerequisite, and there it is. So, if we click on this, we can see the courses that they require. Right there, prerequisite courses. And this one actually, honestly, looks very standard. Biology 1 and 2, A&P 1 and 2, Microbio with lab, Gen Chem 1 and 2, OChem just 1 with lab, some sort of psychology course, some sort of English course, a statistics course, and look at that. This one actually requires a dedicated medical terminology course. Not every school does that. But this is something to consider because medical terminology, at least in my undergrad, it wasn't even offered, or at least not that I can remember. It wasn't required, I know that for sure. So this is something that I would have to consider. Do I want to take a whole another college course just to apply to this school? I might want to, but it's something to think about. So that's already 1 through 4 knocked out in about 1 minute. So this one right here, number 4, let's actually go back to their original website. Their admissions. So I was going to search deadline, I couldn't find that. Admissions. Right here they have their contact information, so you can find this stuff out by emailing them or calling them, which is good. But I'm trying to see if this is rolling admissions. And honestly, from reading through all this stuff, I can't see if they're rolling or if not. So that's definitely something I would call the admissions office and ask them about. That's definitely important. And then admissions deadline, we have that courtesy of CASPA is November 1st. So that's really not an issue, we know that. But definitely, if you're interested in this school, call them. Here's the faculty, by the way. So that's number 4. Whoops. All right, number 5. Minimum GPA, GRE, healthcare experience hours, and last year's stats. So just having looked through this website a little bit, these are all kind of scattered throughout the website. So here you can see prerequisite courses. They hid the GPA in this section. So all candidates must have successfully completed specific prerequisite courses with a minimum cumulative GPA of 3.0. So we know that their minimum GPA is 3.0. Let's see if we could find some more, because that's a little sparse. Maybe it's going to be in the prerequisite course section. So let's type in GPA, and there we go. So the admissions committee carefully reviews the academic preparation and achievements of each candidate for admission. Selection is based on a combination of factors, i.e. academic performance, GPA and GRE, letters of rec, personal narrative, and all that other stuff. You can see here at the end, must have completed specific prerequisite courses and 40 hours of PA shadowing. So this is actually kind of unique, honestly, from the programs I've looked at. It's good. A lot of programs like when you shadow, and you can actually count it as healthcare experience in some. but this one actually requires 40 hours of shadowing and probably some sort of documentation from your PA that you shadowed, that you actually did shadow them. So that's very important. It's another requirement of this school that's not exactly a requirement of most schools. Another thing right here, minimum cumulative GPA and science GPA must be at least 3.0, but candidates are selected for admission for the 2015 PA cohort is 3.8. So the very first year that this program actually came to be, 2015, the first graduating class, the average person who was matriculated into the program had a 3.8 GPA. I wish they would actually tell us all the other classes, so the 2016, 17, and 18 classes, what their GPAs were, but maybe that's something you could find out if you call the school or email the admissions office. Still, that's very high. So just because these other resources, PA School Finder and PA Program Search, would have told you you're eligible with a 3.0, this website pretty obviously tells you we're looking for a higher GPA than that. So that's last year's stats for here. I didn't find last year's stats or even minimum GRE scores or healthcare experience hours, honestly. I didn't spend a very long time with this website, but it doesn't look like it's really showing us much as far as minimum GRE or healthcare experience hours. So my very last thing in green here is school mission and vision, and you can read these here. So the mission of the school is to educate talented physician assistants who strive to promote the PA profession, understand the primary care workforce needs of the future, and act competently when providing excellent patient care utilizing an evidence-based and dynamic team approach. So honestly, what that tells me is they want to train good PAs. There's nothing very specific. They're not saying they want to train PAs that focus on underserved communities, just that we understand that there is a provider shortage. There's really nothing terribly specific. It's just we want qualified applicants and we want to train you to be good PAs. That's honestly all it says. So that's good. They're not very picky. They just want competitive applicants. That's the school's mission and vision. So the PANCE pass rate, I remember we saw earlier, was 100%. So I'm just going to search PANCE and see if I could find a... oh, there we go. Look at that. While intensive in nature, BW's PA program requires more than 2,000 clinical hours, and students benefit from 3 elective... Okay, never mind. So that's not a minimum requirement of hours prior to applying. This is how many hours you get during the program. So again, I really couldn't find anything on how many hours you need to apply to this program. So right here, you can see 100% PANCE pass rate. So the very first class graduated in May of 2015, and then people who graduated 2015, 16, 17, and 18 achieved a 100% first-time pass rate. That's really impressive. Honestly, from the very first graduating class all the way until now, so what is that? 4 classes so far, all 100%. That is actually very impressive. So you can tell their first class, once we clicked on that, class size was 17, then 24, then 31, then 25. So you could probably imagine their class size is gonna, for 2019, is gonna hover somewhere around 20 to 30, maybe 35 people. I don't think they're gonna double the size of their program in 1 year. So that actually answers right there, number 8, class size. And then didactic year, rotation, and also organization. You wanna see if you can find some current students or past students from this program to find all that kind of stuff out. So anyway, just wanted to shoot this video. I'm sorry it went kind of long. But like I said, this is what I would be doing right now if I was in your shoes. I would be looking for specific programs to apply to. Maybe making a list, making a spreadsheet, making a Google Doc, whatever works for you, for all the things that you're looking for in these schools, and then seeing which school you are likely to get into with your current stats, or the stats that you'll have when you apply, which schools you're most interested in, and then kind of divvy up your effort in calling and emailing current students and the admissions office of these schools that you're actually interested in and think you have a chance of getting into, and kind of clarify that. See if you can get last year's stats. See if you can get at which point the GPA is cut off. So for instance, if their minimum is 3.0, but last year they had everybody apply with a 3.6, they might cut off this year's applications at like a 3.4. So if you have under a 3.4, you're just not even going to get looked at. That's all stuff that the admissions team will definitely be very honest with you about, and definitely stuff that you want to ask them. So anyway, again, sorry this video went long. I really hope that this is useful to some of you. I'm going to try to make at least one video a week, especially as we're gearing up for the application season. I might try to make 2. We'll see. I am pretty busy. But anyway, I really hope this was helpful to some of you, and I really hope to see you in the next video. Have a great day.